Hello, you've reached Gloria with Farmstead Talk, and I am here today with Jill of Whispering Willow Farms, and she's representing her state of Arkansas. Welcome, Jill, and thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So, Jill, if you would tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your family, and where you're currently living.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Jill. My husband Nathan and I have three daughters, Peyton, Charlie, and Ivy, and we farm and homestead on pretty small acreage. We're on 2 acres in Quitman, Arkansas. It's a pretty rural area, but we're about an hour outside of central Arkansas.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the population there in your rural area, the community, what it's like, and what's your property like?
Yeah, so we have a very, very small town that we live in. We're about 600 people. There is a town about 30 miles from us that's bigger with a couple thousand, which is where our main community base is. It's where I sell a lot and things like that. Our property, we were fortunate when we bought it. We've only been here at this property for 2 years, but it was set up as a hobby farm. So that was really nice. There was already a huge greenhouse and chicken coop and established fruit trees and berry bushes and things like that. So the setup is really what kind of drawed us in to this property when we were looking at it.
Do you have any other perennial food crops there besides the berries or the fruit trees? Like rhubarbs or anything like that?
No, we just have fig trees and muscadines, blueberries, grapes. We do have a peach tree that will produce, not a lot, but it does produce for us some.
Okay. Have you had animals in the past over there on your land?
Yes. So we currently have chickens, and we've had chickens and quails and rabbits. Small animals, not really anything large. That's not where our desire is, but we have went through all of those for different purposes. Meat rabbits, meat birds. Obviously now we have laying hens and things like that.
Okay. So what growing zone are you in there?
We are in zone 7B.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about the growing methods that you utilize for your gardens.
Yeah, absolutely. So last season we did just raised beds, which was primarily the main way that we grew. And then later into the fall and winter crops, we started doing in-ground gardening. We also grow in greenhouses. So primarily this season we're kind of split. We have a very large portion that is raised beds, but then we do have probably a quarter acre or so that is just in-ground gardening, and then our hoop houses as well.
Okay. Tell me how you started those gardens, the in-ground gardens. How did you go about starting them? I don't know what your soil is like there, but I know some areas of Arkansas can be very rocky.
Right. Yeah, we're pretty fortunate where we are that the ground was not clay, which is something you do deal with a lot of clay and rock around here. So we prefer to not till as much as possible, but when breaking the ground we do have to till for that first time, and then we lay black landscape plastic to kill everything. That way we're not using any chemicals on our farm, just to kill down all the weeds and stuff like that. Then we'll go through and we will lay a layer of cardboard, and then we put our compost on top of that and grow into that, which is something I really recommend if people are dealing with really rocky soil. You can just lay down a barrier, put your compost on top of that, and just grow directly in that compost instead of having to mess with all that clay.
Now, do you have your own compost beds, or do you purchase compost like on large quantities, or how do you do your compost?
Yeah, so we have compost on our property that we will use to kind of top dress. It's not enough to fill everything that we need. So each season we buy from a cotton farmer, and it has really nitrogen. It has a lot of nitrogen and a lot of things that our soil seems to be lacking in. So we go and usually get a big haul from this farmer every season. And then throughout the fall and the winter, we top dress with our compost that we have on our property.
Okay, so it's already composted when you purchase from the cotton farm?
Yes.
Okay. That's a great resource, isn't it?
Yes, it is very nice. And they're affordable, which is fun too.
Yeah. How do you maintain your gardens once they're up and established? like
So
in regards to like irrigation and pest control and weed
right. Yeah. So
control?
fortunately, we have a well on our property, which is we use that well to water. We have set up irrigation pipes in some of our beds, mainly in the raised beds. We don't do that in the in-ground gardening. We do a lot of hand watering, which is really unfortunate, but that seems to just be what works for us. We are not certified organic or anything like that, but we do not use any chemicals, pesticides, things like that. So we do beneficial insects that we release around. I usually release them in my greenhouse when I'm doing starts, because that's when I start seeing aphid problems on tomato plants and things like that. We order them through the mail and have them delivered. So I will release ladybugs in the greenhouse just to try to keep those starts as strong as they can. And then when I transplant them out into the field, I usually just wait and see, and then if I start noticing some damage, I will buy ladybugs again. But we mainly just do beneficial insects, things like that, and a lot of hand picking. I got asked the other day, what do I do for tomato hornworms? And a friend of mine told me about this trick. So we buy a black light flashlight and we hunt hornworms at night and then feed them to our chickens.
I
So
heard that. Yeah.
yeah, we're able to get them when they're super small and they don't do really any damage, and it's super fun for my kids to get involved. So we do a lot of hand picking.
Nice. Have you ever tried praying mantis?
Yeah, so I bought them last year for the first time. That was very interesting. I don't know that I'll do them again. I feel like they were beneficial. We're just really familiar with the ladybug method and how that works. And then last season we did do neem oil one time. We treated all of our stuff just because we got overloaded with aphids out of nowhere. So we did do a neem treatment once, and then that was the only time.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the produce that you sell and where you sell it at.
Yeah, absolutely. So we sell to two local farm-to-table restaurants who, those are probably my biggest accounts. We have a local food store that we've added on this season, and we have a farm store that is like a local grocery store that we will add on. Also, the gym that I attend, I do a CSA membership with them as well.
Nice. So how did you, being from such a small community, how did you market and get to the point where you're at now?
Right. Yeah. So it's definitely challenging. I want to say social media, but a lot of my followers aren't even from around here. So thankfully for me, our community is very much about promoting local farmers. So a lot of it was word to mouth. I delivered to one restaurant, which then told me to the other restaurant, which is how I picked up that customer. So a lot of it around here is just word of mouth, attending all the local events, making sure that your face is known and they see you working in the community and trying to better the community. And for me, that has been far better than any marketing advice I've gotten from anyone. Just being present, it really does make a difference.
Okay. What about food preservation at the end of your season when you have all this produce left? How do you preserve that for you and your family?
Yeah, so we can a lot. That seems to be the best way just to get the most bang for our buck and be able to knock it out. What we do typically in the summer is we have a work day on our farm and we invite our friends and family out to help us. And I also, they can bring their own jars and then I just give them the food because usually I'm overrun, or we'll just split it. So they go in, we split everything. They can take half of it for helping me do the work. So I can the tomatoes, I can the green beans and okra. I freeze all of our muscadines and berries and melons. And then I will just store it in the freezer of broccolis and cauliflowers and carrots and root vegetables.
Okay. Which preservation technique works best for you? Or is there a preference? Let's just put it that way.
Canning is a lot more work, but it is better. The fact that I'm eating green beans that still taste like I went outside and picked them is very, very nice when we're in the cold and in the winter. So I feel like if you can just get familiar with the canning equipment that you're using and you do it correctly, preserving canning wise is going to last you so much longer, and you can do bulk amounts at one time. So I do enjoy that a lot.
Okay. So why would you say it's the best? Just because of the longevity, or?
Right, definitely. I mean, I've still got okra on the shelves for 3 years and it's good. and if I were to freeze them, there is an expiration date on that. At some point, like, it's not going to be good anymore. So I just think for the longevity and for the bulk amount that you can do at one time, it makes no sense.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about your education that you have in agriculture.
Yeah, so I went to school for a few semesters for business and agriculture degree while I worked on a cattle farm. I learned a lot in those few years. I went to school for 2 years, and you retain a lot of knowledge about things you had no idea about. And that I took a plant science class, and that's what really got my wheels turning about, okay, I didn't realize you could do all this. And I remember not knowing that you could be a vegetable farmer. I thought farmers were like cattle farmers and had horses. And then when I realized that I could grow vegetables and farm for a living, that was kind of a game changer to me. I'm currently taking courses from Kiss the Ground. They are coming out with a documentary about soil health and all of these things. And so they put out these online courses. And so I'm currently taking those courses, and I've really been enjoying them as well.
Regarding that Kiss the Ground program, share a little bit about what it is and where other folks can find that information in case somebody else out there would like to learn about.
Yeah, absolutely. So someone shared their information with me, but you can go to kisstheground.com. Like I said, they have a documentary coming out right now. I am in a soil advocate class, which is training me to be a soil advocate. And then the next course that I'm doing is on regenerative gardening and farming. And pretty much they are just teaching you all the important things of soil and what our soil needs, how to make it thrive, and just really learning how to be sustainable and regenerative and having the longevity of farms in our future.
Nice. Do they offer a certification program, or is
so
it?
You do, yeah. So you go through and you have to test out. It's like a semester. It's set up very much like a college class. There's a syllabus. You have Zoom calls with your instructors. Then you take a course and you get a certification at the end.
Very nice. If you could give advice to anybody for new homesteaders that are living in your area, what kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah, so I think the most important advice that I got, and I didn't take it, and now years later I wish I would have, but don't start so big. I feel like we can get really caught up with what our neighbors doing and what we see on social media, especially, that we try to dive into everything and we get really overwhelmed. So figure out what the vision of your homestead or your farm is and slowly try to implement that. If it's chickens, just start with chickens and learn everything you can about that. Then when you feel comfortable, move on to the next animal or the next food crop, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to start this huge garden, get chickens and quail, and I'll throw in like a couple rabbits. It gets really overwhelming, and then things are going to happen and you get real discouraged. So start small, figure it out, and it will grow.
It's really difficult because people get excited. They're so excited for their journey, and they just want to wet their feet with a little bit of everything at once. And then, like you said, it can get very overwhelming, especially when you're going through that learning curve. So
Right.
So I think in meeting you that you're really into, as well as many other homesteaders are really into, clean eating and concerned about what they're putting into their mouth. In your own words, what does clean eating mean to you?
Yeah, so clean eating means a lot. I'm very cautious about what I put in my mouth, and I realize that it either fuels my body or it hinders my body. I like the idea of only eating food that I grow or that I buy from another farmer, which is typically what I do. And that's something that I try to teach my kids too. I don't tell them food is good or bad. I tell them this is going to make you strong or this is not going to make you strong. And I really do feel like if we view it that way, okay, this is going to help us reach our goals or this is going to hinder us from reaching our goals, I really do think you can kind of grasp what clean eating is when you start taking that mentality and you think about your food before you ever eat it.
So how do you know if someone put a blindfold on you and told you, hey, just eat this? Just speaking, just what if?
Yeah.
How would your body know if something is going in to your body that's not good for you?
Oh, my body
on a
would.
personal level for you.
Yeah, I would totally reject it. I mean, so I don't eat dairy. So if I were to eat dairy and someone poured me a big old glass of milk or made me a cake that had cream cheese and milk and all these things, I mean, I would immediately be sick.
Wow.
So matter of fact, my husband made me a protein shake the other day, and I do vegan protein, and it was not mine. And immediately I was sick, and I was like, what did you put in that? He's like, oh, it was just my protein powder. Well, it had dairy in it, and my body was not accustomed to that. So within like minutes, could tell that something was not right, just because I have eliminated that from my diet.
Yeah. And I think just as our body becomes accustomed and used to eating junk food, so
Yeah.
will it revert and change if we start putting healthy things in our bodies
Right. And
and
you can
training our
curb
bodies.
your app. I mean, when I was detoxing from sugar, I ate a lot of broccoli and cauliflower because I knew that that was going to help me curb, my sugar cravings. And it did. I mean, you can replace, God didn't just create that, right? Like He created all these ways for us to make these things that are going to fuel our bodies. And then over time, just in the world we live in, we've got all this access to junk food and things like that. But I really feel like going back to the beginning uh, really will give you a good mindset.
Right. I agree. I agree. So I'm going to ask you a question that I don't usually ask.
Okay.
What is something that you think people don't worry about, but they really should?
Okay. So this is a hard one. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like in homesteading and farming, people do not think about how lonely and isolating it can be. I get a lot of people who admire what I do and they think it's really awesome. But if they knew what I went through and the work that I put in, it wouldn't be so awesome on the day to day. I just think it's really, especially farmers, if you listen to other podcasts and you talk to farmers, they will tell you they get burnt out. They feel isolated. They feel like they don't have any friends. And I feel like really clinging to the community that you have and leaning on that way, whenever an animal dies unexpectedly or your crop completely fails that you were planning on to have income for your family, instead of feeling like you have no one there and you regress and you get depressed, you think, okay, I need to find my core group of people that I can go to and they can encourage me and remind me why I'm doing this. And then next season will be better, that I can get more animals and I'll do something differently. But I feel like it's something that we don't talk about a lot, but just, you have homesteader friends or farming friends, check on them because you just don't know what their day to day looks like.
I couldn't have said it better. Very good.
Thank you.
We're getting ready to wrap up. And this is one question that I ask everybody. What is, if you can sum up in one word, what your experience in homesteading has meant to you, what would that word be?
Sustainability. Definitely. I have learned how to provide for my family with the resources that we have. I've taught my children how to grow food. I've preserved food for my family. I've learned so much, but definitely just how to be sustainable is one of the biggest things.
Great answer. Thank you so much, Jill. I appreciate your time in this interview.
Thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thanks.